Hello everyone, today I'm going to start with the eyes of this lovely white German Shepherd, and here are the colors I have laid out. So I have three brands, so Carbothello, Caran, and Fabercastel are the three brands I have, but you can use whichever ones you want. So this is a black, dark sepia, walnut brown, earth green, and then bistre, some ochre colors, terracotta, and some light orange, which I don't know the name of, ivory, and then two whites. The Faber-Castell white is for more detailed, thin lines, and then this one is the brighter one, the Caran Chinese white. And then the blending tools I'll be using is this color shaper. It has a plastic tip and is really good for getting really tiny details to blend without completely getting rid of all the detail and just making it look softer. And then this one is what I'll be using for the initial layers when I want everything to blend really well and completely go into the paper. So let's start. So first, here's the reference photo. This is part of a larger commission, and I will be drawing the rest of the dog as well, but right now we're just starting with the eyes. So this is what the eyes look like, and there's some really gorgeous eyes, so I decided to do a tutorial on them. I'm going to start with black, and actually I'm going to start with dark sepia, which is the 175 of the Faber-Castell brand. It's a warm, really dark gray. It might look a little bit flat if we only use black and don't put some brown or gray tones underneath, so that's what I'm doing right now. It's also good to help us see what is going where. So here is the pupil. I'm not going to be saving a spot for the little white dots that appear in this eye because my the pastel pencils can actually go over lots of layers and still be super bright. If you are worried about being able to put the white dots in at the end though, you're welcome to save a little dot for them inside the pupil. There's a little black line over the top, and then just hints of this slightly grayer fur that's going to be happening later. Same thing on the other side. I'm drawing both eyes at once because it's easier to make the eyes look similar in just shape and color if you do them both at once. Again, we're coloring the pupil in. Oh, that line wasn't supposed to be there. It's okay. I will fix that in a bit. Alright, the next color I'm going to use is actually going to be this Walnut Brown. It's the 177 of the Faber-Castell set. And if you don't have Faber-Castell pastel pencils, I highly recommend just buying the some pink tones and also just this Walnut Brown that I mentioned, the 177. I hope this one's the Walnut Brown. There are two browns that are pretty similar. I think it's this one though. So I'm coloring in the lower half of the iris, as you can see, and then also a bit on top, and just the outer part of the pupil. I'm doing this because the transition between black, which this is going to be in a little bit, and the inside of the eye needs to be smooth, and brown is a great color to go in between them. Plus, I see in my reference photo that there is a lot of brown at the bottom. Let's put some brown in here. Okay. Next, I'm going to put in the black. So, just like the Caran white is more vibrant than the Faber-Castell white, the Caran black, black, is going to be darker than the other brands of black. You can also use a soft pastel stick of any brand really, and that will get darker than any pencil should be able to, just because softer materials are able to make more vibrant marks. I hope that after this video, all sorts of eyes will be a little bit easier for you to draw. Even though this is a German Shepherd's eye, you can really draw any eye with this same technique. It's just that they might not have as much of this black going on the outside. They might be at different angles, but the whole, like the top part is shaded, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, and other tricks like that all apply to all sorts of other eyes. Speaking of shading the top half, let's put a little bit more of this walnut brown on top. Usually the shadow on top is a little bit heavier than this actually. This is a really light eye. But yeah. Let me make sure I've got the shape right on this side. You want to always be looking at your reference photo. So in this case, you can just be looking at what I'm drawing, but when you have your own reference photo, it should be as close to the paper as possible so your eyes can flick back and forth between them. And you should be looking at your reference photo basically as much as you're looking at the actual drawing. I'm just taking those extra few seconds to make sure everything is right before I move on to the next colors, as this is a customer's order. Okay, next I'm going to start using the earth green. This step isn't that necessary. You won't always see green in eyes, but on this dog I do see some green in the bottom half of the eye. So although this might not be that visible by the end of it, I do think it's important to put a little bit of green in there. Next we're going to use Bestray. And again, this is mostly on the bottom half. This dog's eyes, like I showed you in the reference photo, are a little bit different than most in that they start darker on the bottom and go lighter to the top. But they are very pretty, so I thought I would do a tutorial on them anyway. Let's slowly go lighter. This is the 180 Fabercastel pastel pencil. Just moving closer and closer to the top. And we're on the 182. Starts to curve around the pupil a little bit up here. And since we're losing a lot of the colors we've put down because we're putting other colors on top of them, I will be going back through and adding in those colors that we're missing in just a little bit. I'm going to skip to the ivory now. This top part isn't white, but it is very, very light and it's a warm color, so I've decided to put a little bit of ivory at the top. Ivory is a warm off-white. Okay, now before we add any orange, I just want to go back through with our colors. Walnut brown, again, at the bottom. I'm going to go back in and add that white stripe later on. The one that's at the bottom of the iris. So now you see we need a color between this brown and the black. So first let's add a little bit of black, kind of. Okay, so dark sepia is a great candidate for this because it is a warm brownish gray, and so it's right in between walnut brown, and black. And if we overlap it with both colors all the way around here, it's going to make a much nicer transition. Just fixing the shape again. Okay. Next, I'm going to use the Bistray again. Making sure it blends with the walnut brown, but not completely covering it. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more walnut brown, because I think I covered it a little bit. It's hard when the eye is small. You can try this on a larger format as well. That might help. Just the learning process. I'm doing it small because this is a commission, first of all, and they chose this size, and also because I think it's kind of nice to learn to watch videos that are a little bit shorter than it would have been if I had done a huge eye and taken 2 hours on it. Oops. Okay, some more ivory up here. Really light pressure on the ivory because I don't want it to become super light. Now let's add some of this light Carbothello color. Let me try to read the number on this. It's very faded though. It might be the 680. That might be wrong, but it's this light color of orange, terracotta-like color, but I don't know exactly. I'm just using it because it's a light orange, so any light orange will do. And I'm gonna make these little squiggles, maybe you might call them, in the middle and the bottom section of this iris. I'll work on the other eye in a little bit. Oops. I think this bottom section needs to be a little bit darker, so I'm adding some dark sepia. Okay, let's add some green squiggles now. And I want to use my terracotta to do the same thing. This is the 182. I'm just fixing some things, trying to make make the blend look smoother. Sometimes I can't talk while I draw. Oh, well, we have a cattail. Mingo. Okay. A little bit more walnut brown just along the edge. A color that I did mention before that I want to add is Indian red. You don't have to do this. Just any dark red along the bottom where the brown is. I do want to get the bottom part a bit darker though. Maybe just a tiny bit of blending now. I'm really just gonna tap at it. You don't have to blend this at all, really. It's not that necessary in an eye if everything already looks smooth. I'm just making it look a little bit smoother now. The blending tools are more for the fur part of this tutorial. Oops. Okay. Let's add tiny bits of red hints in this black with really light pressure. You can barely see it. Sorry about all the throat clearing. Don't really know what's up with that. Okay. Now that I've done that, I'm going to mark where the highlights are going to be. Some of the highlights look slightly greenish in this eye, so I'm going to start with green and then I will put white on top of it though. Seems to be 2 windows. They should all be curved in some way because this is an eyeball and you're not going to have straight lines anywhere basically. Now let's see, where is that marking under the eye going to be? This white part. Okay, where I put the green is where the white is going to go. Let me make this black go a bit further down. I've just used green to mark it so that it's easier to fix if anything went wrong. Alright, so now with the white line under here, you want a really sharp pencil. And the line should fade on the sides and be brightest in the middle, like that. I'm gonna make the black line between the white part, or the waterline, I guess. I don't really know what exactly we're calling that. There we go. Okay, it's gonna come to life once we put in the other highlights. You can use whatever brand of white you have. You can also use a soft pastel stick and use the corner of one to make these dots even brighter. But I'm going to place the pencil, so place the pencil where I want to put the dot, being careful of like where the point of the pencil is, and then slightly move the pencil while pushing down really hard. Slightest move you could possibly make. Okay, I made it. Lift up, and you've made a little dot. The reason you want to do it in this way while pressing really hard is that you want it to be the brightest possible and a clean dot as opposed to smudging other colors around. Let's also make a dot or a line. See how much brighter that is? It's the Caran Chinese white on the bottom line there. Okay, and then with my other white, I'm going to make some lines here where these, I'm assuming they're windows, where those highlights are. Again, curved shape is really important. Curve them along with the eyeball. And then let's make some little markings with this 182. And the ivory at the very top. And by markings, I mean little squiggles. Hopefully you can see that. And then same thing with this light orange. Little dots almost. Making sure all the black parts are completely black. Oops. Okay, and that is basically it for one of the eyes. One thing I want to fix though is these highlights go all the way down to the bottom, and I don't think I want them to. I think the bottom should stay a little bit darker, so I'm gonna tap some Walnut Brown in here. If you don't like your details at any point, you can blend them and redo them. The pastel matte paper should hold that. Okay, let's do the other eye now. So this is bright black enough. Let me just smooth the black out a little bit since I can see little dots of paper showing through. Okay, so let's add some dark sepia at the bottom, just to make it a little bit darker. And then just go through our little lineup here with Walnut Brown. With some Walnut Brown on top, but not all the way across, just kind of in this corner of the top. And then let's use the 180. And the 182, just lighter. And finally some ivory in the top, but really light pressure. I made a little marking where that highlight is gonna be. Maybe I shouldn't have done that yet. We'll see. Let's add a little bit of green squiggles or little dots, whichever you prefer. And then I want to add the little bit of Indian red as well. And that's just wherever the brown is. And a little bit in the black. And then I want to add some terracotta. There's some terracotta in this left corner. Making little dots now. And again, I'm looking at the other eye and I'm trying to make sure we have the right shape and the bottom is dark enough. Okay, let's start putting some ivory dots up here and pushing harder so that they're little sparkles, just like on the other side. And then just like on the other side, I'm gonna mark these highlights with green. So there's one right there, one right here. They're different shapes than the other side, but that's okay. We're gonna trust the reference photo. And then let's make that line under the iris. It should be curved just along the end of the, or the side of the iris. And there should be a black line between this white part and the actual iris. Okay, now let's use some white for this line right here. Remember, it's brighter in the middle. On this eye, there's also a little white part in the corner. Just fixing the shape of my line. Oops. Okay. And let me add some of this caran to the line and make it brighter. Again, fixing the shape. Okay, now let's make those really bright spots. Again, we put the pencil down where, or the corner of the pencil down, whatever you're using, in the spot that we want to make the highlight, and then we move it slightly while pushing down a lot, and then you lift up. That's just how I get the cleanest, brightest line possible, or marking. It also makes the shape pretty random, which helps make it realistic. Because like a perfect square or perfect circle would be a little bit weird. Also, we have little smudges everywhere. I did not realize that. I guess my hand got dirty. Maybe I put some of my hand on the other eye. This is a little bit smudged right here. Oops. Okay, no worries. Hold on. Pastel also erases really nicely, usually, unless you're using like black. So it's really nice in that way. I'm gonna use the point of this color shaper to fix the shape of this eye on top. Adding some black. And I want to put some brown between the black and the ivory up top so that it's not just black to ivory, because that's a little bit weird. Alright, some more lines we can make in here are from this light orange color. Little dots, lines, whatever you'd like. But stick to the middle part of the bottom of the, sorry, what was I saying? Middle part of the bottom of the iris. Just because if you go too close to the black of the pupil or the black of the bottom, then you're going to lose that effect of the shape of that eyeball that we made by making the sides darker. Little dots of red, dots of terracotta. Not all eyes have all these colors, obviously, like not all, and they also don't always appear the same way. Like this dog's eyes won't always look this pretty. It was the lighting. But it's so cool. Making the sides darker again. I have other eye tutorials on my YouTube that are shorter than this, I think. Or I'm drawing smaller and much less detailed eyes that are, it goes a lot faster, but I thought I'd do this tutorial to show you guys how I do the eyes usually when I can put this much detail in. It's because my clients don't always have great pictures of their pets, but this one did have this one great picture, so I'm going with it. These highlights are actually a little bit too bright for me, so to tone them down, I know I did not expect them to be too bright, but whatever, to tone them down, I'm tapping them with my color shaper. Let's spread that out. Okay, I'm going to make a little dot on here, on the line down here, just like that. Okay, I believe that, wait, no, never mind. We have these little markings right here. Okay. Now I believe we might be done with the eyes. And now I'm going to move on to the fur. Alright, now that we're on to the fur, I just wanted to make a quick note. If you do have different brands of pencils that you can choose from, I would go with the Carbothello ones for most of the fur, because this is a really soft looking area, and Carbothello pencils are just really soft, so I really like them. And I'm going to be using some grays, basically, mostly cold grays. There's a dark one up to the lightest one. I'll try to tell you the numbers as I go, but they're really faded again, so hopefully just any grays that you find that match sort of like this will help you. Another thing is that obviously we're going to need white and my brighter white, Caran one. And I might need to add to this later on. I'm gonna probably want to go over some stuff with blue and with some really light pink, like this one. But I'll let you know when I start doing that. So first, I'm going to go around the eyes which actually I didn't include this, but there is a bit of walnut brown, dark sepia right around the eyes. It kind of matched the colors we were doing around the eyes before. So this is dark sepia, and it's really important to go in the direction of the fur. So that is starting at the bottom line of this eye and going down and to the right like this. Make sure you try to copy the direction of the fur from my drawing as closely as possible, because it does change the shape of the face, and if you get the fur direction wrong, it just won't look realistic. So this goes all the way around and it's starting to curve, you know, curving that way. Fur direction is very similar on all animals that have fur, like around the eyes. The same pattern exists on other animals. So I don't really even need a photo that shows the fur direction most of the time. I can just figure it out myself. But that's because I've had years of drawing experience with dogs, cats, and all sorts of wildlife. So as you follow along with some more of my videos, or just practice on your own, or whoever's videos you want to watch, as you keep paying attention to the fur direction, you will eventually just find it second nature, and you will just not even be able to draw in the wrong direction. It'll just look and feel so wrong. And because the fur direction is always changing, especially around the eye and on the nose, it is really important to always look at your reference photo or at the video you're watching and not just listen or draw what you think. Try to draw what you see exactly. I'm going to add a little bit of brown in the same direction of the fur, all the way around where I put the dark sepia. And I didn't mention this before, but I'm also going to need some green. This is earth green. It's 172 of the Faber-Castell set, but any super light green will work. I see some green in my reference photo, which is why I'm putting this in, but it's not going to be super noticeable at the end. So the more comfortable you get with adding in different colors like green and pink and blue, the more realistic over time your drawings are going to get. A note about pencil sharpeners: you want to get a new pencil sharpener every 1 or 2 pieces, even if you're using these cheap handheld sharpeners, and I think that that's the better deal. I do have a swordfish crank handle sharpener, but that one got dull really fast. So this is 110. This is the 110 Carbothello. It's a really light gray, and I'm going to lightly color in this area. I'm still going in the direction of the fur, but you'll notice I'm not making individual lines because I'm not at that point in the detailing process yet of the middle. Something to note is for this dog at least, and for this lighting, the lighter area is kind of in the shape that I'm about to draw. So right above the eyes is a little bit darker. Like this is bright right here, but then there's a darker marking area. It's not a marking, it's a shadow. Anyway, it's kind of like this shape, and right above it is a little bit darker. I probably won't go up there in this first part of the video though. All the parts will be on Patreon, but only one will be on YouTube. So that's this one. So now we're not doing the fur direction quite yet, like you can't see the individual strokes, but I do want you to figure out what the fur direction is now so that in the later layers it's not that hard. So right here, we're gonna continue with this green and brown parts we were doing. It's gonna go all the way up here. I'm just making a line right now to show you this is not actually the length of the fur, this is way longer. and this one also does the same thing, and they meet up right here. Okay, so it's gonna be vertically down right here, and then all the way around here we have, following that shape, up and curved up this way, and then here it's still vertical. Okay, going to the sides. Right here is vertical, and then it's going to change direction again over here. So we'll worry about that in a little bit. But you do want to correctly have all the hair meet up in the middle to have this work properly. Now in my reference photo, this part looks completely white and there's no other colors in there. I can't even see the little individual furs at all, or hairs. But I want to fix that, so I am going to put a little bit of color in here. For example, blue. This is a really light blue. It's the 435 of the Carbothello set. I'm gonna really, really lightly apply this on the other gray that we put. Again, in the direction of the fur, but you don't really need to make individual fur lines right now. I'm going back and forth and not picking up my pencil at all, just to make it look smooth and get the first couple of layers down before we do the detail. Actually, I'm going to put down a little bit more of the same 110 gray. I'm trying to make it look smoother and not have the paper showing through. By the way, if you were doing this on white paper, you would be doing the exact same thing. Well, white pastelmat paper. It would just be harder to see when you filled up all the tooth of the paper. Like right here, you can tell that there's gray underneath and that you need to put more pastel there. But if you were drawing on white, you might think that section is done. Anyway, there's not really a different technique to drawing white fur on white paper. I'm gonna take this slightly darker gray now. See if I can read it. 720? Yeah. Sorry, a lot of these colors are just faded, so it's hard to read sometimes. I'm gonna use the 720 to make slightly darker gray just around this eye. The eye bit, maybe the edges. They really want the area between the two eyes to be the brightest, and so I'm trying to add a little bit of contrast. So here's the darkest gray that I'm going to be using in the fur, probably 726, right? Yeah. And for this one, really, really light pressure. Do not press hard because then it's going to look too dark. And we're just going between the dark sepia, brown, and green area that we did right next to the eye, like right here, and overlapping that with the white. Not the white, we haven't really used white yet, with the gray. But notice how we haven't used white yet? That means that we can actually draw white on top of this and have it show up as a highlight, whereas if we had just put white down immediately, we wouldn't be able to do that. And with pastels, you usually work dark to light. It's not exactly a rule, you can do it the other way around too, but this is the more intuitive way to do it. And I don't think I really know of anybody who strictly goes light to dark with pastels. So I smoothed this out with my finger, and I could have done it with a blending tool, except I don't trust any of my blending tools to be as clean as I know that my finger is right now, because we're dealing with white fur and I don't want to get any little smudges in it. Although you can barely see it, I'm gonna use this, the 7... Did I say 726 for this before? Maybe I didn't tell you the number. This is 720. And I'm making the little lines now. Make sure you're making your, the lines just as long as I'm making them, like this length. For this section, the fur length varies from section to section, so it's really important to get it right. Again, for the realism effect, making the shape look right. I don't know, imagine that you were drawing furs that were like this long on this whole dog. It wouldn't look right if you do a line from here to there. That's not gonna look realistic. So you do need to make sure they're the right length and have them meet in the middle right here, as I told you before. So it should be a vertical line in the middle, and they should be meeting up. If you have a dog or even a cat, whatever animal, actually bird won't work. Okay, dog, cat, anything with fur really, look at the area between their two eyes and see how it meets up here. That might help you. Okay, I mean, this is a super bright area of the dog, so I don't think we need more shadows in the middle area. But if you are planning on continuing this tutorial with the other parts, then I will be having sections that are a little bit darker and we'll be making more shadows, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Definitely can't make the whole dog look this bright because then it'll look flat. So this is the white, it's the Faber-Castell white, so I can add all these little lines that are super thin. The caran could probably do the same thing, but just not quite as detailed, so I'm using this one for the detail, and I'm going to use the caran on top to add some final highlights. So look, we have our vertical line here, and then we're going to start again, still vertical and slightly curved, curving more, and very curved, okay? You can look up like fur direction charts or diagrams or something to help you some more with this, but it's really important to understand fur direction. And also let me know if you have any questions about that or anything else. Having them meet smoothly in the middle is also really important for creating the smooth, gorgeous fur effect here. I'm gonna, just like we were overlapping the gray with the white, I'm gonna overlap the white with the gray, making nice thin lines over the top of the gray. Let's do some areas around the bottom of the eye, and then that'll be probably it for this first part. So let's go down here. This is the 720. And again, make sure the fur direction is correct. We're going toward the side of the cheek, and we're starting at the bottom of the eye, like that. Okay. And then here we're gonna actually turn it, because these fur directions, like the one that goes up here and the one that goes down here, they're not just gonna randomly intersect at some, like, you know, line like this. They're going to blend smoothly together. So this is gonna start turning, right? We have little lines this way, and then eventually you see how it lines up with that. I just think it's really cool how that works. And if you're able to see that, that's awesome. Like if you're able to connect the different fur directions together like that. And here we're still going down. There's a little ridge right here of fur that's going this way, kind of colliding with fur that's going the other way. So sometimes that happens. I'll show you how to do that. Pressing a little bit harder to make it smoother down here. Let's do the same thing on this side. And then this is gonna start curving over that way. I'm gonna have this part go all the way to this side of the face right here, just to show you how to do the side of the face. And same on this side. Okay, like before, I'm gonna first add some blue to this. I like adding blue to white. Sometimes the primary color that you're gonna see, like primary, but the most dominant color you'll see in white fur is sometimes more of a yellow color, in which case you'd use a lot of ivory and yellow ochres, and there's also fur with a lot of pink in it. This one, the reference photo has more pink and purple in it, but I do want it to look blue, especially because the eyes are orange. I don't know, this is just how I felt like drawing this piece today. And blue is a pretty common color for white anyway. I mean, you see blue shadows in the snow because the sky is blue, and this dog could be outside, so let's just do it that way. I know from the picture this dog is most definitely not outside, but we can draw, I think it's a girl, we can draw her as if she is. This is the shadow of that little ridge of fur I was talking about, where the different directions kind of collide a little bit. And then we're gonna use the same, what is this? 726. The 726 gray to overlap with the lighter colors around the eye, like we did before. And then a new thing is that along the side of the head, like this, that one's actually going to be a shadow because it's rounding off. This is the side of a head, so that's just how we do that. It's going to be darker on the edge, like that. I think this is going to weird me out if we don't go all the way up here. So I am going to add some more gray up there just to make it look balanced. Okay, now there is a little bit of a shadow here. So above the eye in the reference photo, I'm using really light pressure with the 726 now. Don't want to go too hard, and definitely don't want to see like these individual really dark gray lines. So make sure they are light enough pressure so that you can blend them and not have streaks in your final product. Okay, so there is a shadow right there above the eye. Right there is bright, right there is a shadow. So that's the shadow. Same thing on this side, but it's less. And it's also only like that tiny section. And then again, because of the way that the face is shaped, there's a little bit of a shadow right here under the eye. Alright, let's go in with the light gray again, the 110, in these other areas where you can still see the paper showing through. By the way, if you're ever drawing along with my tutorials and you're trying to do exactly what I'm doing, it's taking the same amount of time, and you are like, you're not rushing at all, and you're putting down exactly the colors I'm using, and it's not working, make sure to comment on the video or message me or something. I do want to work that out with you. It might be the paper, it might be the amount of pressure you're using, or the brand of pencils, although that's less likely. It's usually the paper. If you're not using Pastelmat paper, you're not going to be able to do this in basically most cases. I had somebody on my Patreon try my videos for the first time a while ago, and she tried it on Canson paper, I believe, was her first try, and it looked really good. It was just pretty muddy, and the highlights weren't really bright, and it was kind of messy. And then when she tried it on the pastelmat paper right after, like just literally the second or third piece she'd ever done, it looked amazing. The difference was incredible. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to post about this, she could tell me, but it was just, I was blown away. Pastelmat makes a huge difference because it allows you to layer like I'm doing right now, and you can't do that on a lot of other paper. Okay, so that's where we want to be there. Again, I'm going to use that pinky that I reserved for blending white, but you can also use a clean, I don't know, cotton tip or blending stump if you have a super clean one, or if you want to clean yours, color shaper, whatever you'd like. Maybe a tissue. Okay, so that looks really good so far. I'm going to get my the 726 again, and this time we're not gonna blend it out entirely, so I'm making super light strokes in the direction of the fur where the shadows are. Again, in the direction of the fur is really important. This one's curving that way. Basically just putting in all the stuff that we blurred out before, but this time we're going to actually keep the detail, so make sure your little individual fur strokes looks nice. And this time you don't want to go back and forth on the paper. You want to lift up the pencil after every mark. You don't necessarily have to go in the direction of fur, as in like starting at the root and then ending at the tip of the piece of hair. I sometimes go the opposite way depending on which way is more convenient for me at the time. But you don't want to make more than 2 strokes like with your pencil on the paper. You want to lift it up after every one, if that makes sense. And there's a bunch of gray at the bottom of here, and along the bottom of this one. And then I'm going to use dark sepia to darken up these spots right here. You can see the paper through it, and it's not quite dark enough, so I'm going to fix that. Pressing down a bit harder. If you end up following along with this tutorial, please let me know. It makes me super happy. And then if you'd like, please show me your drawing or your attempt, or whatever you'd like to. That would also make me really happy. Okay, this bottom black part is now, it is too big. It was supposed to be not that thick, so I'm adding the 726 gray and overlapping with it. And then I'm also gonna add this, what is this? 720 gray, which I need to sharpen. Okay. Gonna layer that on top too, overlapping with that darker gray. Okay, I think we fixed it. Yep. And then with black, there's a little bit of a corner here. Let's make sure we have that corner. I'm just making sure the black part is smooth and that you can't see any paper through it. I'm gonna use a color shaper to blend out this part again so that we can't see the paper through it, because seeing paper through the drawing is really never a good thing, I don't think. I'm putting tiny black marks. I'm not overlapping this with the white, just with the gray. So it's a natural flow from black to white. Like that. Okay. And more 726 along the bottom of both eyes. Dark sepia. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of green too, which we had originally done, I think. Right here. Green can be nice to highlight as well. It's earth green, so 172 of the Fabercastel set. Just making sure I have all the areas highlighted that I want to highlight. Not highlighted, shadowed. We're doing shadows right now. Oh, there's actually a little dot on the fur right here. Right, where is this? Here. I'm gonna make that a dark sepia. It's a little marking on the fur of the specific dog. Cool. Alright, what was I? Okay, so now let's get our Faber-Castell white, or whatever white you have, and continue. You want to overlap a little bit with the other detail that you did, just so that it doesn't look like it's two separated sections of fur, and that it's all one. And this is going to start turning downward, okay? So we're going to turn, and we're here. And we've turned, and we're going to turn all the way around. You see how it was this way, and then now it's almost to the left. Again, I can't see the fur direction on the dog, I'm guessing. It's so bright, and the camera quality is pretty good. It's just that it's blindingly white in the reference photo, so I can't see the fur direction, but I am giving my best guess. So hopefully I'm right, and if not, I'll try to fix it. Alright, so under this eye, we're going toward the right. And they're all curved marks, right? They're facing upward curves like that. And that adds a lot of shape to it. If you made straight lines right here, you would have no shape to this dog. You can see the cheekbone more clearly now when you curve the lines like this. Let's do the top part. Again, overlapping with some of the other white details that we did before, and then moving on. There's a super white spot right here. It's kind of like eyelashes. They overlap with the eye a little bit like that on the corner. Like so. Let me fix the shape of that. Well, okay, and then a little bit of dark sepia overlapping with the white colors. And then this white can now overlap with the dark sepia. Like so. When you're switching between colors, you do want to make sure they overlap with each other. Overlapping the white with the gray a little bit, not with the black, but with the gray that's next to it. Don't be afraid to draw white on top of this section right here though, in this corner of the eye. That it looks pretty cool, as you can see. Sometimes you might need to clean your white pencil just by rubbing the tip between your fingers, so it doesn't drag any gray onto the rest of your piece. Now let's start from the bottom. It's going to be straight up right here. Continues to be, you know, straight up in the middle. But then we're actually going to do something different. These don't line up exactly, so it's going to, this is the tricky part of any situation right here, is the tricky part of the fur. So right here, you know how there's a ridge where they meet up, like on opposite sides like this? Okay, so it's actually gonna go like that, if that makes sense. And you can kind of blend out the white right here, just like I'm doing, and not show all the fur detail right there, because it is white, and brighter spots sometimes just you can't see the fur detail. So if it gets awkward and the fur detail doesn't make sense, you can just blend it out a little bit. And then let's make a couple lines just like on the side, sort of like eyelashes, overlapping with this black part. You might want to twist your pencil while you do this so that you're less likely to drag black back onto the white, and then clean the tip of your pencil. And now let's add some of the brighter white. If you don't have another bright white and you want to get it brighter, you can use a soft pastel stick if you have that. Or you can buy a Caran soft pastel pencil. This is the Chinese white. There are 3 whites of that set. I know this to be the brightest one. I'm not gonna put the caran d'Ache in the shadowed areas, and the shadowed areas aren't that shadowed, but this is a little tiny bit darker, but there is white right above the eye here in this little spot. And then on this cheekbone, not getting too close to the sides though. Okay, thank you so much for watching my white fur and eyes tutorial. If this helped you, please comment and like. Let me know what worked, what didn't, what I can do to improve my tutorials, or what you really liked about this video. That would be super helpful. Thank you so much. And if you'd like to see the rest of this dog, because it is a whole dog that I'm going to be drawing here, the rest is on my Patreon channel, which will be uploaded as soon as I finish it. It is also a custom pet portrait commission, so if you're interested in that, the link is in my bio as well. Patreon link also in my bio. So I hope to see you there. The Patreon is only $3 a month, and you get a free trial until the first of the next month, so make sure to try it out. Cancelable at any time. And again, thank you so much for watching.